One of the more interesting moments today came when the president was questioned about the relationship between the government and the oil industry. One reporter asked President Obama if former President Bush is essentially to blame. Here's what President Obama said.
Is it fair to blame the Bush administration? Don't you deserve some of that?
Well, let me just make the point that I made earlier, which is Salazar came in and started cleaning house, but the culture had not fully changed in MMS, and I take responsibility for that. There wasn't sufficient urgency in terms of the pace of how those changes needed to take place. There's no evidence that some of the corrupt practices that had taken place earlier took place under the current administration's watch. But a culture in which oil companies were able to get what they wanted without sufficient oversight and regulation, that was a real problem. Some of it was constraints of the law, as I just mentioned, but we should have busted through those constraints.
Joining me now to react to some of this is talk show host and Fox News contributor Mike Gallagher and talk show host and constitutional attorney Mark Levine. Gentlemen, that was rather extraordinary, and the president getting pressed very hard. Got some emails from our viewers, Mike, saying they expected him at some point to try to pin this in some way, shape, or form on the Bush administration. Is that what he tried to do there?
It sure sounds like it, but Megyn, I am so torn because on the one hand, I'm so disgusted with the blame game. I think the phrase Obama's Katrina is so repugnant because it's a reminder of what the left tried to do to George Bush over New Orleans. And I suspect that my liberal counterpart here, Mark Levine, and I are going to have a rare day of agreement where there has been way too much finger pointing going on. And frankly, as a Bush supporter, it frustrates me to see Obama critics do the same kind of thing that people try to do with George Bush. Now, having said that, it does seem like that answer was trying to again have Barack Obama point the finger of blame at the Bush administration to some degree. It's regrettable. All of this finger pointing is counterproductive. You know, we could have done one of two things, Megyn, with this horrible oil spill. We could have reacted or we could have responded. Now that finally this flow has stopped, may we go forward and respond and be proactive and learn from what went wrong. But this was a tragic accident that should not have been laid at the doorstep of either George Bush or Barack Obama, or even BP for that matter. No one wanted this to happen. They did everything they could to respond appropriately, and I think the blame game has just been absolutely appalling. It's very distressing, and it breaks my heart to have seen what's happened in the last few days.
From Mark's body language, I'm going to guess you're wrong about this being that rare day of agreement.
I'm afraid I don't agree with Mike at all. Look, if we've learned one thing, if you don't learn from history, you're condemned to repeat it. The Republicans, the conservatives have a philosophy. They'll tell it to you all the time. They don't like any kind of government regulation. They trust corporations to do the right thing. They want government to get off the back of corporations and not to regulate anything. And we see what happens when the Bush administration fills these regulatory agencies with a bunch of people watching porn and not caring and in bed with the oil companies. This woman, Elizabeth Birnbaum, was appointed under President Obama. The main thing that's happening at both the Minerals and Management Service, at the SEC, at all these organizations that are designed to watch over corporations is they're in bed with them. It's not just Dick Cheney who's letting the oil companies write the regulations. The same people who are getting the royalties from the oil companies and trips and Super Bowl and all these things are the people that are regulating them. That is wrong. And we cannot always trust corporations to do the right thing.
Go ahead, Mike.
Even the sitting president just acknowledged that he felt he dropped the ball. He's been in office for nearly 2 years, Mark. You guys have got to stop. This makes me so sad to watch you continue to blame George Bush for everything under the sun. If you guys didn't have the Bush-Cheney-Halliburton narrative, I don't know where you'd be. It's got to stop. This
Mike,
is not
it's true.
Barack.
All right, listen.
It's not true.
I want to stand you two by, because we have a lot of folks joining us at the top of the hour. I want to stand you two by.